So, you're a jury member of the Central and Eastern European competition at Art Film Festival. What do you look for when watching the films?
I maybe didn't come with special preconceptions. I was just interested to find out what these films will be about, given that they come from many different countries, and then tried to see the connections or differences between them. They were obviously connections and some surprises. And one of them was that most of them were actually focused on family life. So in the past we expected Eastern European cinema to be very political or openly political, and I wouldn't say that politics completely disappeared, but most of these films which were in the selection were more, like you can say, personal stories taken from, I would say, micro-historical perspective.
Do you find this disappearance of politics from those films as a good thing or a neutral thing?
Well, I don't see it as either good or bad thing, because you can have a good film about politics and bad film about politics, and equally you can have a good film about family life and bad film about family life. But I will suggest that this reflects well on the political life of these countries. It suggests that it's rather stable. The only overtly political film concerned the war in Ukraine. So what we've got from films from Hungary, Slovakia, Georgia, Romania didn't concern such a big topics. And in my view, it rather reflects that life there is, reasonably content.
Are you able to detach yourself from an analytical viewing and perceive the film more emotionally, or do you straight go into the analysis?
No, I always watch films very emotionally, and it's always this sort of, you can say gut feeling, you like it or not, you want to stay in the cinema or you want to leave, and only later you somehow think, why I like the film. So it was also very interesting to have these colleagues in the jury and discuss them and find out actually how much we have in common, in the sense, that we like the same films for the same reasons.
What do you think makes a film, when do you recognize film as something special, like it is a new voice, it has something new to say? What makes you see it?
Well, first of all, I don't look for something completely new in cinema. The first thing which somehow affects me is whether it has an interesting story to tell. So if a film has a good script, you can feel it because it sort of grabs your attention, you get interested in characters, in what was going on in their life, you care for them. If you don't care for the characters, I would say this is the worst part of the film. It can be new, it can be innovative, but if the characters are boring or if there is no story, it's very difficult to be involved for a longer piece. It can be experimental film for 5-10 minutes, but if you are meant to spend 90 minutes or 2 hours in the cinema, you want to find an interesting story. And then obviously there is a question whether this story is told in a interesting way. And then you can say you find new elements there. So you look at things like, for example, camera work, acting, whether it has some, interesting technical aspects, but also issues like whether it's told, I would say, in a coherent way, whether it has a special rhythm. Very often films somehow, I like films which are like music, yes, which have a certain rhythm. So if this rhythm is there, you somehow go with the film. If it doesn't, it's not so good. And about innovation, I would say that there, watching so many films together, certainly draw us attention to innovations in cinema. For example, many scenes are made with drones, so there are a lot of shots which are from high above. In the past, this happened, but it was usually the case of expensive films. Yeah, you had to have helicopters or cranes and so on. So you needed really expensive equipment to be able to make such shots. While nowadays it can be done much cheaper, and I certainly noticed that filmmakers take advantage of that. So we have a lot of this bird's eye views in these films, and often it works. Sometimes you could say it's a bit of a gimmick. It might not be necessary, but certainly this is the innovation in cinema of the last, decade or so.
You often work with themes of labor, everyday life, and gender in your writings. Do you pay attention to these themes in the films?
Yes, very much so. I always, when I see scenes of labor or issue of labor, I get very interested in that. So this was also something which I discovered in these films, that they often many of those which we watched dealt with work, with the issue of work, both manual work and creative work, including work of filmmakers. So there was this meta-narrative element of them. The filmmakers focused on creative work, on work of filmmakers or painters and so on, actors. So this was also very interesting. And the differences in representation of these two parts of work. Also, a number of films dealt with the issue of social security, which is also, I would say, quite a new aspect of Eastern European cinema.
Do you have some message for young filmmakers?
Indeed, I do. And this is something which I shared with my colleagues. And one of them is really pay attention to script, and don't believe that if you need to do everything, yourself. It's worth having somebody who will, do the script for you or work on the script with you, because I would say that the main problem which we encountered, if there were a problem, had to do with the story. So if the story was good, the film was good, yes? If the story wasn't good, you cannot make up for the bad story.